What is up, everybody? This is Roberto Enamorado, aka Robertoinlove. Wanted to share with you some great news for me. Yes, for me, but it relates to you too, or it could relate to you. Essentially, I'll read this to you. It says, "Dear Mr. Enamorado, Financial Counseling Services of NYU Hospital Center has approved your request for financial assistance 100% effective for in-network medically necessary services rendered from XYZ time to XYZ time. You are now asked to pay only $0. Yeah, so I think this is really important. Why? Well, for several reasons. Number one, I don't have medical insurance, and not having medical insurance does not mean that you are not able to get services. And so my question to you is, if you've had a medical issue and have come across a bill, maybe it seems like a lot of money and you've panicked and just start paying it off. How many people have called to inquire about how to get that bill lowered, right? From what I gather, medical emergencies, one of the top reasons why people end up in bankruptcy and, possibly even worse, maybe even homeless, who knows? Actually, many people know where that goes, or where that could go. And so I would suggest that in the future, when you do have a situation where you need to get medical attention, emphasis on the need part. I'm not saying you do this as an everyday thing, but when you need to get medical attention, look into which organizations near you, and by organizations I mean hospitals, but essentially they're organizations or companies, and what services do they provide that could lower the amount that you have to pay or completely circumvent the process of paying anything. So it'll lower, number one, the stress that comes with having a medical issue and having to pay it, having that debt weighing you down and not even bothering. A lot of people don't take care of their health simply because they state, well, they don't have medical insurance. And indeed, that's a very real situation for a lot of people, for millions of people in this very lucrative, very financially, whatever. U.S. has money, and unfortunately, I feel in many regards, not all of them, but can do a better job at taking care of its citizens and non-citizens and residents, etc. And so, essentially, try harder to deal with your bills in a different way and look at money in a different way. Now, what I mean by that is money is mostly code on a screen. It's mostly digits and pixels that make you feel good. You have a bank account that has a lot of money, you're like, whoa, I feel great. Or when you're really low on funds and you're like, oh shoot, and you're stressed out, right? It doesn't feel good. But a lot of what economics is really, most of it is not real. And so when you get a bill for X amount of money, you might be able to negotiate it. And then all of a sudden that money that was creating a lot of, or rather that debt that was creating a lot of stress for you, all of a sudden doesn't exist anymore. That's pretty much how a lot of situations work, where the money, or money in general, has an arbitrary value. It goes up and down depending on so many factors. And on a very micro level or individual level, that also goes with bills and the cost of certain goods. And so don't be too quick to pay for something that you may not need to. Maybe you can negotiate the price. Maybe you completely avoid paying anything at all for something that you initially were like, well, this is too expensive for me. Or, oh man, that seems like something I won't even bother trying, right? So essentially, check into why you pay for things, if you need to pay for them. And although we're always told that we need to follow suit with everything, it's not necessarily the case. I mean, in this situation, me specifically, it's not the first time I've negotiated or completely avoided paying a bill, not because I'm doing anything that is illegal or anything like that. I'm just thinking differently and looking at different resources for, how to deal with economics. And sometimes, taking your time is probably the best thing. So don't panic, don't start paying out. Find a way, see if there's a way around it. There's sometimes where actually most of the time you incur a bill, you got to pay for it, and that's a very normal thing. But there's certain things, even in a way, almost everything, we give an arbitrary value to it. And the cost of that good depends on so many factors. And so in this case, I got to go to the emergency room, I got diagnostics, and when I got the bill, it was more than $1,000. And so I reached out for resources to see what can I do to at least lower the cost of that, if that was a possibility. And in this case, I completely did not have to pay anything. And so there you go. That's an example of how the value of things, it's completely arbitrary. People decide whether they're going to charge you for something or not, and all of a sudden, the money stopped existing. The debt that I owed to this institution, now all of a sudden, through a decision, money no longer owed. And that can happen on multiple fronts. So keep that in mind. All right, folks, thank you so much. I'll see y'all next time. This is Roberto Enamorado, a.k.a. Robertoinlove. Check out my website, Robertoinlove.com. And if you feel like these videos are helpful to you or can be helpful to somebody else, feel free to share them. And of course, if you want to commit to be part of the Robertoinlove family, actually no commitment, but you can support me on a crowdfunding campaign, which you can also find out more at Robertoinlove.com, and just click on support. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great night. Peace.